Everybody. This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. First, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Clauser, if you could lead us in that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have roll call. All members are present except for Mr. Hendricks, but we do have a quorum. Next is mission statement. Mrs. Jones.
Lebanon Community School Corporation challenges everyone, every day, to a new best.
All right. First thing we have is actually a hearing within the meeting, so we'll go ahead and call that finance hearing to order. And that is Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Parks, and good evening, members of the board as well. Each year we're required to have a report prepared for the board to summarize really two things, year-end financials, and one thing that is a little bit peculiar about this particular report. We will present all of the, it's called DUAB fiscal indicators. DUAB is a state agency, the Distressed Unit Appeals Board. It was an agency that was enacted approximately 10 years ago to investigate fiscally failing school corporations, and they have conceived upon these indicators, and schools are to report on these. And as the DUAB analyzes school corporations, should any school begin to perform poorly in these indicators, there is a meeting that is held between the school corporation and the Distressed Unit Appeals Board, and should an action plan not yield results that are satisfactory, school corporations could and have been taken over by the state in terms of their fiscal operations. And so each year in January, in fact, we have until the end of the month in January to prepare this report to the board.
Yeah, we are not one of those districts.
We are not one of those districts. But we are required to present on these. The indicators that are available right now, though, however, are actually indicative of not calendar year ending 2023, but calendar year ending 2022. So that's what these will be reporting on. It will look like these are a year behind. These are not old in the sense that these are the most recently published ones. So we will go ahead and get into the first one. So the first fiscal indicator is average daily membership, better probably described as enrollment. That y-axis there is from 0 to a little over 3,000. So it looks as though there's not been much fluctuation, and truthfully there hasn't. For last school year, our fall average daily membership was 3,451, and I do have obviously some updates on what that is for us this year. We know that we did creep just over 3,500 this year, but overall we have recovered nicely from a bit of a dip since a peak in the 2015-2016 school year, and we're climbing nicely to really, I guess I would say, record enrollments here in the coming years. Projections certainly would show. The next indicator is our fund balances. I've done this on two different slides. One simply breaks down the balance of each of our different funds in a different bar chart. You'll notice that up until 2018 we had a kind of a lime green bar, and that has since disappeared. Again, reminder to the board that as of January 1st of 2019, the general fund for school corporations was dissolved and created the education fund, and then operations fund was really a combination of transportation, bus replacement, capital projects, and those matters. But really the next slide gives a better picture and kind of adds all of those together. You can see the cash balance of the corporation. There we go. Cash balance of the corporation has grown steadily. As the board will recall, sometime early, or I should say late in calendar year 2023, we did adopt a new debt and reserve policy that governs the reserves that we should have on hand, and we are well above that, getting to a point where we'd like to see these fund balances level off as our expenditures and revenue start to match one another. But that is indicative of a healthy cash balance, certainly. Next, we will see sort of the same thing that explains how that cash balance has grown over the years. So it's a deficit surplus. Really what you want to look for is actually the yellow bar in each one of these years. That yellow bar lies above the x-axis. It means there was a surplus in that given year. Should it fall below, there was a deficit in that given year. In all of the years you can see we had a surplus at times. And a deficit is not necessarily bad for a school corporation, especially one-off deficits like you see in 2014. That's just going to happen with changes in revenue from the state, changes in staffing, issues such as that. Where the Distressed Unit Appeals Board begins to take exception is multiple years of deficit spending, which we're on the other side of that at the moment. Next up is, again, another facet of our debt and reserve policy, and that would be a fund balance as a percent of our expenditures. So what percentage of the expenditures in any given year is our fund balance? Keep in mind that a standard for a school corporation that is doing excellent in this particular category is 20%. So that is what our debt and reserve policy says, well above it, almost double, in fact. Lastly is where our revenue comes from. So an interesting chart to read here. Basically, you want to follow each color. Again, the summation of all of these certainly indicates our total revenue, which has been increasing over the years, but really it's the green one there, the second one from the bottom, and that is due to debt issuance. So that is revenue that we receive from bond proceeds, which is it fluctuates on any given year, and that makes sense looking at the graph because most of the colors are relatively the same height in any given year. It's just that green one that indicates the 2022 general obligation bond that we did sometime late in 2022, and then there was a 2021, a 2020, as well as a 2018, and so that's why we're seeing those. So the last slide is the last requirement that we have for the DUAB, and that is operating referendum revenue. Again, as you'll recall from the beginning of the presentation here, we are a year behind. So next year we will see this graph populated for us. So we have been collecting operating referendum revenue. These just are a year behind. The final piece of information that must be shared at this meeting are our December 31 balances in each of our different bank accounts, as well as the interest earned over the course of the year. So won't necessarily go through all of these, but as we talked last year, we did institute a nightly sweep, and we have worked with State Bank on what an appropriate balance or peg is in that sweep to offset our bank charges so that our analysis statement comes out neutral and we're not paying bank fees. And that has turned out to be exactly $1.5 million. And so every night that is swept away from our operating account to leave that as a nightly balance of exactly $1.5 million. Going down from there, you see a lot of our general obligation bond proceeds, which is explaining the majority of our cash balance. That is not indicative of the cash that the school corporation has on hand. Obviously, those funds have been appropriated for specific projects within the school corporation. We will spend those down and those will go away. That's not revolving cash that we have year over year. Finally, the interest earnings, I would say, are abnormal, and that is just really a statement of the financial landscape in the United States right now with interest rates where they are. Just like everyone else, we are earning a lot of interest on money in the bank, and that is just due to where the federal funds rate is and how that's risen really since 2022. So with that, happy to answer any questions the board may have. Otherwise, that is my final slide for this presentation.
Do we have any questions from the board? No action needed?
No action needed.
All right. With that, we'll close the hearing, and we'll open the regular meeting. First item for the regular meeting is approval of minutes for December 19th regular meeting, January 12th reorg meeting, and the January 12th special session meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
Mr. Clauser. Do we have a second? Mrs. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the certified executive content for the December 19th executive session. Do we have a motion to certify the executive content? Mrs. Hutchison. Do we have a second?
A second.
Mr. Clauser. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have superintendent's announcements and celebrations, the fun stuff.
So fun stuff. Thank you, Mr. Parks. I thought this evening I would share with the board, and you have some more detailed information in your background notes, an update on the graduation rate for Lebanon High School. The state did certify graduation rates in the last 10 days or so. So I gave you a little bit of a summary and just some highlights, and you'll see in your packet that Lebanon had a 94.98, so let's call it 95% graduation rate for this last cohort. That's 6 percentage points higher than the state average graduation rate. You'll see that it's broken down into various subgroups as well, English language learners, et cetera. You'll notice that the special education graduation rate last year for Lebanon High School was 100%. Which is something certainly to be proud of. Just wanted to take a moment and thank our staff and families. We often talk about the high school with graduation rates, but it starts in the elementary school, and it starts through the middle school and supports for students. And I've always felt that regardless of what test scores may show on a given day, which is exactly what a standardized test does, it gives you a snapshot of where a student is on a given day. It does not show the full picture of the student and their trajectory and where they, what their capabilities are and what their potential is. And I've always held graduation rate as one of those metrics that lets you know how we're getting our students through and prepared for college and or career. So just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone for their hard work in that graduation rate data, and be happy to answer questions down the road, do a presentation, have Mr. Meyer talk about that. It's been a bit of a moving target over the years with graduation rate. Some things when we grew up in high school that may not have been considered something to count against your graduation rate does. For example, we have cohorts now, so if a student starts with a school in their 9th grade year on day one, if that student moves to Lebanon High School and they're 15, 20 credits below where they need to be as a junior or even as a senior, they're in our cohort now. They're not in the sending schools cohort. So if they don't make it across the finish line, that would be one of those students that would drop our percentage points. So just things that maybe we didn't have on the landscape when we were in high school. It's a pretty complicated formula. So even with those challenges, our staff and of course our students and families have done a good job. So just wanted to highlight that a little bit this evening for you. Second, I'll kind of piggyback on Mr. Dennis's presentation with finances. Just wanted to bring to the board's attention, we have started, the state has started what they call the short session, legislative session, just kicked off this month. And one of the items I did want to bring to the board's attention, there's legislation being proposed. Currently, there is a cap on the operating referendum, which Mr. Dennis alluded to in our revenue slide recently. In May of 2022, our community voted to approve the board's ability to levy up to 15 cents on $100 assessed valuation for an operating referendum. Currently, 83% of our operating referendum revenue is spent on salaries, wages, and benefits for our staff. Also allows us to employ an SRO in every one of our schools in the district, and other school safety commitments as well. So it's a very critical piece, obviously, of our revenue and be able to provide programming. Recently, they put a cap on what you're able to levy in that operating referendum. So I just wanted to illustrate to you what that means for the district. So again, the voters approved a 15-cent operating referendum. We are only now allowed to levy based on 3% assessed valuation growth within our school district. If folks have paid attention at all, our assessed valuation in our district grew higher than 3%. So what that means to our district when we put the 2024 budget together is that we will only be able to levy 12.94 cents rather than the 15 cents that the voters approved. That has an impact on projected income for the district of $752,346 that the community approved through the ballot box that we are not able to capture based on this cap. In addition to that, the legislature also enacted a cap that does not allow us to levy more than 4% for our operating fund levy as well. There's something called the maximum levy growth quotient. And in growing communities such as Boone County, we qualified for that and have qualified for that over several years. We would have, under the previous rules, been able to levy 9%, but we are capped at 4%. And that, in your next budget, will have an impact of $352,224. So these two legislative decisions will affect potential revenue for Lebanon schools, if you've done the math, $1,104,570 for your upcoming budget year. The proposal is to extend that past next year. So as AV grows, that number would,
Continue to decrease.
and possibly more than double in its increase, depending on over year. So that's going to have a compounding effect. Spending some time on that in my announcements, these are certainly not celebrations, right, in this part of the conversation. I bring it up here just to bring it to your awareness. I'll be sharing some of our thoughts with our local legislators, of course. I will copy the board on those correspondences. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention and others as well, that these kind of the devil's in the details, as my dad would always point out, and these are the types of languages that are within the bills that when you enact them, it's real dollars. These are seven-figure impacts on school districts based on these caps. So wanted to bring that to your attention this evening, and we can answer your questions as they may arise. Any questions on that before I move on to the fun stuff?
Well, I mean, it just a point, so that means that any time, I mean, the AV isn't just going up just because land values are, because we're building more. There's
Correct.
more residents, more people, so we're going to
Right.
be having more students,
Right.
which means more expenses, yet our income is decreasing.
You can't
So it's
capture
a- it's a-
it to do that. Exactly right. So in our community, it's not just increasing values, it's more properties, it's actually more as part of the growth as well. So it does have a cascading effect potentially for us. So something for us to pay attention to, and I know Mrs. Hutchison will be down there helping us as much as she can as well, having conversations at the State House. And I may be asked to testify as well. Lebanon is one of those school districts that would be kind of a poster for how this could impact revenue in the future. So thank you for that. For celebrations today, first just want to congratulate our lady wrestlers. We had several that qualified for semi-state, and we finished third in regional, and you've got some information in your background notes of that, but also wanted to spotlight Clara Ranlin, who qualified for semi-state, finished sixth at that tournament as well. So continuing to do great work with that program, and congratulate the ladies on a great season. So congratulations to them. Now I need to find my last slide here. Now I'd like to take a moment. I'm going to step away from the podium and congratulate Miss Emma Hornbecker, who is with us this evening. Emma is a recipient of the Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship. This is a tremendous, tremendous honor, and we are very, very proud of her. This award comes with full tuition to a Indiana private or public institution. So is that correct, Emma? Is that right? Within Indiana. We've already celebrated Emma's academic prowess through her qualification for National Merit semifinalist through the PSAT and her SAT scores, and she's a great representative of our district. I'm going to have her come forward. We have a little gift for you, Emma, from the board, and I'm going to put you on the spot and let you talk a little bit about the process and what you had to go through for this, okay? So first of all, can you talk about what you went through this process and what the application process was like?
So I qualified to apply based on being in the top 20% of my graduating class, and then I filled out this whole application, and it is available to students anywhere around Boone County. And then from those applications, the panel picks 8 students that they interview, and of those interviewees, 2 people get the scholarship.
So I think 143 students total around the state. That's what I read in the bio. So that's an incredible contribution from Lilly to be able to support our students. I'm excited because I was part of the very first Lilly scholarship. One of my students, the very first year it was offered, and they only gave one per county at that time, and it's grown over time. So, is there anybody with you tonight that you'd like to maybe introduce or thank, perhaps?
Yeah, I really, my parents are here, and they've been super supportive of me, and definitely have, yes, they do have names. Dr. Michael Hornbecker and Megan Hornbecker, so thanks, Mom and Dad.
Congratulations. Let's congratulate her on this incredible honor. And Emma, you are now officially, this is the very first ever, because we changed our mission statement and guiding principles for the district. So this is the very first ever Lebanon Community School Corporation, a new best award based on our new mission statement, right? Everyone, every day, reach a new best. You certainly exemplify that. We're super proud of you. Notice I did not put you on the spot, but college choices. I did not put you on the spot. But you might have a direction you want to study, perhaps? Are you going that direction?
Pre-med.
Pre-med. All right. Shocking.
What's that?
I'm not the president, but the next item I think is
Next
board-
item is board
board
recognitions.
recognitions,
Tiger
and so I
Pride,
can
yes.
introduce that from here. I'm
Yes.
going to ask Kelly Dennis to the podium, and we want to take some time to celebrate our student Tiger Pride champions for semester 1 of this school year. And I'll let you talk a little bit, Mrs. Dennis, about these fine students and how they qualified, and we'll celebrate them.
Thank you. I'm proud to recognize these students that were the Tiger Pride Champion for first season. The award is designed to nominate and select students who take pride in themselves and in their lives. The Tiger Pride Champion Award celebrates students who demonstrate persistence, respectfulness, initiative, dependability, and efficiency. The following students were recognized at the respective schools in front of their classmates, but we're excited to be here tonight to recognize them at the school board as well. Students, when I say your name, please come to the front to receive a letter from the board presented by Dr. Millman. We will also take a photo at the end. From Central Elementary, we have Jordan Hart and Harper Robeson. From Harney Elementary, we have Lizzie Lincoln and Lily White. From Hattie B. Stokes, we have Harper Floyd and Stanley Cerna. From Perryworth Elementary, we have Lily Christian and Winry Williams. From Lebanon Middle School, Ellie Beach, Brooks Johnson, Alexis Larman, and Amelia Spencer. And from the high school, Mason Crew, Tate De La Rosa, Sydney Starkey, and Kate Williams. Congrats to all of our Tiger Pride champions. Continue working hard and being leaders in our schools. Once again, we're going to take a group photo before you take off.
Dr. Millman can be in the front row. Now, I know all you parents and students would love to sit here through a riveting school board meeting, but we will not take offense if you decide right now, if you, we'll take a moment, if you want to go ahead and leave, go home, sleep up for that 2-hour delay, right? But, yeah. Get there to see Purdue beat IU, right? Right? Bye, Megan. All right. Next, we have informational item, school construction renovation update. Nothing? Nothing
to
at this
report
point?
other than the walls are still going up and the paint's going on the walls. so
Central's starting to
Central
look
looks like a
a
building.
frame
Exactly.
of a
We
building,
see-
right?
We see the shell.
Has the weather this week delayed any?
A lot of our work, Perryworth, Harney, is indoors. You probably have seen the plastic, the visqueen up around the gymnasium at Harney, which they can pump some heat in there to help with that masonry work there as well. I do think it likely affected some work at Central. You get into certain temperatures in concrete, and that cold of weather doesn't always mix well. So I think it probably did affect them to a degree.
Central is shut down at least towards the end of the week. The temperatures are such that with them setting steel right now, it's too cold to even get a bead hot enough to make a weld. So there's no steel work going on, and then the ground now frozen has made underslab plumbing difficult. So it's just sitting right now.
Okay.
All right. Next is consent agenda staff matters. Dr. Millman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Parks. For our classified this evening, I'm asking for new hires 374 through 381. I apologize, 382. Resignations 383 through 385, and termination number 386. Under 10B this evening, asking for contract status change number 102. This is brought on as our master teacher contract, which you approved last fall. Within that contract, according to the rules through the ERB board that basically approves school contracts for public school systems, we're required to list the positions that are members of the collective bargaining unit that are covered by the master teacher contract. Within the last ratified contract, we removed the position of career engagement coordinator from the bargaining unit within the master teacher contract, which required us then to enter into a new agreement with Mrs. Dennis as career engagement coordinator with a new scale similar to the administrators that was presented previously, and a stipend for mileage and technology as part of the work within that position. So that's what the contract status change is in reference to this evening on that. Also, 103 would be a new hire, but not a new person. The board approved the formation of the new Lebanon Western Boone Joint Services as we dissolved the Boone Clinton Joint Services. So we posted the position for a new director of that new joint services. Madeline Sandberg, who currently serves as the Boone Clinton, is being recommended this evening to the board to serve as the director of the Lebanon Western Boone Joint Services. So familiar face, technically new position. We're still the same fiscal agent, so very little change in her life, but a recommendation to the board. And that's why that one is a little bit different this evening as well. Then new hire number 104. You can see, because it's mid-year, you'll see a prorated there as well. And we did approve then Mrs. Dr. Wolf at the previous board meeting, so you'll see why that one is not part of my recommendation this evening. So that is it for certified. Under extracurricular this evening, recommending number 373 as a teacher mentor, which again is part of the master teacher contract, for mentoring of our new teaching staff.
All right.
That's it for staff matters.
With that, do we have a motion to approve as read, classified, certified, and ECA staff matters? Mr. Jones, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a consent agenda business matters. Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I apologize to the board. I don't have a financial update for you this evening. I always have these board meetings circled as close ones in terms of we are one day away from the earliest possible day we could have the board meeting, combined with end of year that Melissa and Brittany have been working hard on, and then combine that with yesterday being a holiday. I was hopeful that I may be able to bring it to the board meeting tonight. Obviously could not get it in to the board packet last Thursday, as I always hope to do. So I owe you December and January for February. So again, please accept my apologies, but it has not been possible to do much else other than close out the year and work on bringing forward the 2024 budget. So all I have for you this evening would be the claims and the payroll for December 22nd and January 5th. Remember, these claims do include debt payments, so that's why they're a little bit unusually higher. But the claims for this time period, which is 59135 through 59254, totaling $9,841,229.37. Two payrolls totaling $2,359,464.58, for a total between the two of $12,200,693.95. Appreciate the board's approval of those claims.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve claims and payrolls as read?
Motion.
Mrs. Hutchison, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, comments from the public. Do I read this? I don't need to read this right now. We do have one individual, and typically we don't allow items that are not on the agenda to be discussed, but we're going to go ahead and allow that. It's Delia Marshall, and just, typically we ask for an address, but since you're a minor, we'd ask you just to state what school you're in. So you can come on forward and just note what school you go to.
My name is Dewan Marshall. I'm a 6th grade student here at LMS. I'm here to discuss the matter with a male being in a female's locker room. Imagine this is you. You're an 11-year-old girl who's coming into school thinking that they're in a safe environment. You go to PE to get ready in the locker room, and you see a boy in there. The first time you saw them, you panicked. Do I change it from a boy? I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Do I take my shirt off? Do I take my pants off? He is doing so I think I should. I see him standing there in his underwear. That was the first time I saw a boy half naked in a school that's supposed to be safe. I wanted to cry. I felt so uncomfortable. The only thing I'm asking for is that all students can change in a locker room that is matched to their gender. If they don't feel comfortable changing so, they could change in a private space alone, making others feel comfortable in their locker room. If I was your daughter and I came to you and said I saw the outline of a male's genitalia for the first time in the locker room in a school that's supposed to be safe, I would hope you would be proactive and find a safe place for all students, not just 1%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we move on to action items. Request approval of time clock and absent management services from Red Rover. Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Red Rover is a current vendor of ours, and they handle the absence management of our certified staff. So should a teacher wake up ill one morning or have a personal day to enter, they would enter it into, this is a technology, a digital system that then allows us, both from the human resources side, to deduct a personal day or a miscellaneous day, whatever the case may be there, as well as alert us the need to fill a sub position for that staff member that particular day. The rest of the staff of Lebanon Community School Corporation turns in a paper absence sheet still. Additionally, I would also propose adding Red Rover has a time clock. We do have a current time clock system. Currently, the majority of our hourly employees are on that time clock. However, we do have some hourly employees that still submit a paper time card bi-weekly. And that has presented, it's worked well. But there are always instances where the very tactile human nature of getting these time cards over to admin, over to Melissa to process payroll, it's moving a piece of paper from the buildings to the administrative office. And so due to the fact that these two systems would talk flawlessly since they're both made from the same vendor, I'm proposing eliminating our current time clock vendor and adding Red Rover absence management for all staff, so no longer teachers. We do get a lot of questions from our staff as far as how many days off do I have left? And this software in real time will then allow them to know that. That has been a particular issue because right now payroll is always 2 weeks behind. As you know, payroll is still a very hands-on process. And so if they were to go into DocDelivery, which is our pay stub system, they would not see any absences that they had taken during the current pay period, whereas Red Rover would communicate that to them. In fact, when they were to submit for a miscellaneous day or a vacation day or a personal day, you can see it deduct one from your balance at that point. So it informs the employee of their paid time off remaining at that point. They've given us a quote, essentially with the elimination of our current time clock, K-time, and the addition of Red Rover. Year over year, this would represent a $6,000 increase in this particular essential function. As you all know, Melissa is the one person I have in the business office that conducts payroll. We have one payroll staff member. There is a one-time implementation fee for this of $4,250. All of our current fingerprint scanners and things like that are compatible with Red Rover, so what we've been using with K-Time will be able to be utilized with Red Rover. So in terms of the hardware portion of this, there will be, other than just general wear and tear replacement of these items, or as we have to implement two new kiosks for clocking in due to growth or whatever the case may be. But there's nothing proprietary, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that's going to involve doing this. So happy to answer any questions the board may have about this, but respectfully would request the board's consideration of the adoption of Red Rover for both absence management for all staff members of the corporation, and then time clock for all hourly employees of the corporation.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the contract with time clock and absence management services from Red Rover?
I'll move to approve.
Mr. Clauser, do we have a second? Second. Mrs. Hutchison. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have some questions.
Yep.
Do we know what the time savings would be for Melissa to implement the new system?
Ver-
How do you calculate the value savings?
So in terms of her time, difficult to quantify how much time that would take. What we're finding is the inaccuracies of maintaining accurate records of our employees as they submit their time cards. We've run into issues of as administrators would go to approve time for their staff members that would have taken place 2 weeks ago. We want to ensure that by them clocking in and entering these items themselves, that we are keeping accurate records. We don't have any reason to believe that anything nefarious or anything like that is going on, but it's causing a lot of time, quite honestly, for our supervisors to verify and check matters and things like that. This does import directly into Computrol, which is our financial management system. So I would imagine hand entering. So for example, all of our clerical staff are still on the paper time card. And so that would be at least 2 members per school. So we're over 25 employees that Melissa's hand entering time at this point, each pay period for those staff members, as opposed to just being an import, a file at that point, that would save time. Admittedly, I don't have the number of minutes that would save her at that point. Yeah.
And then I take it online and someone is going in and approving the time before it goes to Melissa, just as it would be paper and all that.
Correct. So as opposed to the tactile signing off on the time card, it's just a module that they'll be able to do from their home if they wanted to approve time on a weekend, as opposed to having it physically at school. So the efficiency that it gains our supervisors to handle these essential functions of being a boss, if we're being honest, allow us to utilize our technology and computers to make that much more feasible and convenient for them.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of appendices to the master agreement with Meyer and Agem for the Transportation Center.
Thank you, Mr. Park. So at the December meeting, we read the bids for the transportation facility, and as we've done several times now, would like to ask the board's consideration to approve Meyer and Agem's fee to be our construction manager for this facility. Background notes include the details of all 4 exhibits. That is the amendment to Meyer and Agem's agreement. But ask the board's approval this evening of Meyer and Agem's fee for construction management services at the new transportation facility.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve the appendices to master agreement with Meyer and Agem for the Transportation Center?
All motion.
Mrs. Jones, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Continue to do a great job, correct?
Very, very much so. It's been a fantastic partner. They just took the Harney staff around to check that out this evening, and they've been an invaluable resource, both knowledge, connections, resources within the industry. It's been fantastic.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the approval of LHS roofing.
Happy to bring to the board this evening our next roof of our 20-year roof management plan. It is the building that we're sitting in right now. Mr. Conrad from Etica Group estimated the roofing work a budget of $1.3 million this year. Happy to bring to the board a fantastic bid number that we received last week from South Central Roofing to cover the roofing here at the high school for going to begin right after spring break, in fact. Should take them through the summer and finish before fall break. It is a pretty significant square footage of roof on this building. Keep in mind, this work always keeps 100% of the square footage of our roofs under warranty. So any type of issue that occurs, we always have our roofs under warranty. So happy to give the board this evening a request to accept the bid from South Central Roofing in the amount of $868,600 for the roof.
Excellent. Do we have a motion to approve this bid from, as read for LHS roofing? Mrs. Hutcherson, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones. Any comments?
Just that it's so much lower than everyone else, so that is good. And hopefully you are familiar with their work and know that they'll still do a great job and not cut corners.
They are a very reputable roofing vendor in central Indiana for commercial buildings, for sure. I have navigated projects with them in my previous employment quite frequently.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the use of Vector Solutions to provide suicide awareness and prevention training to LCSC.
Thank you, Sparks. I've provided some extensive information to the board. In your background notes this evening, we utilize Vector Training to provide our required trainings for across our employee groups, whether it be our bloodborne pathogens training, bullying, education training, gang awareness, all of the training that is required by the state of Indiana for certified and non-certified staff. Among that required training is suicide awareness and prevention. It's a required component of license renewal for our teachers and administrators. This is something that I had personally advocated and professionally advocated for this change at the state level several years ago, knowing that in working with Vector, they have reputable representatives from the field that design the training with expertise in the field. Our current requirement is an in-person training. It's a 2-hour training. This is also a 2-hour training, but allows our staff to take it online with their other training that is implemented. We provided a side-by-side difference for you in your background notes. Within the statute, however, if you choose as a district to allow the training other than the current method, it requires board action to say we are ready to go ahead and use that as our, can use it. We can use both, of course, the current training and or this to provide that training for our staff. Obviously is more efficient for them to be able to receive it in this format. So happy to answer any question you have, but my recommendation is that we utilize Vector Training to satisfy this requirement.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the use of Vector Solutions for this training? Mrs. Jones. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Clauser. Any discussion? Thank you for your thorough explanation.
Welcome. I thought there might be some questions, so I gave you some additional thoughts there.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a request to appoint designee to sign agreements for alternative and private placements.
Thank you. This is an annual request for the board. We have students in our special education arena that sometimes are assigned to locations, whether it be a resident facility or facilities that provide services that we're not able to provide in the general education setting. The state of Indiana does have a fund, hasn't increased a lot over the last 20 years, but has a fund to help offset the cost, and we would submit a request to be reimbursed for some of our costs for these special education students. This will allow us to sign those on the board's behalf, keeping it from having that month lag time and bringing it to the board on a month-by-month basis.
All right. Do you have a motion to appoint as designee as read?
Motion.
Mrs. Hutchison. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a request approval of donation from Boone County Health Department.
Yes, we are so grateful to the Boone County Health Department for providing AED devices across the district. And as we were continuing our inventory throughout the district, Mr. Martin and I discovered that the administration center needed an AED as well, certainly with all of the groups and folks that are attending, and our own staff, of course. And so they were gracious enough to donate one more for us. And so it has already been installed, and this is to formally accept their donation for that.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the donation from Boone County Health Department? An AED.
Motion.
Mrs. Jones, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a request approval of donation from Eli Lilly.
Yes, the Lilly Endowment has reached out to us. We've met several times, wanted to provide some funds for our district to be able to either jumpstart some programs or to sustain programs that were in place. Ultimately, we suggested that it would be well spent if we could equip our elementary STEM labs and elementaries with robotics kits or STEM kits to help them with after-school clubs, whether it be a robotics program or whether it be a civil engineering
There
club,
you go.
right? That we'll build some bridges as well. But elementary STEM kits to jumpstart that program as we design those facilities and equip those facilities in the 4 elementaries. They have graciously are donating $10,000 for that. We've already have a supply list. We're ready to roll when the check arrives. They have requested to meet at some point, some elected officials here from the board as well, and so we're trying to work out the details of that. But I want to be ready to go with an approval so we could get the POs going with the board approval when the funds arrive. So that's what we're requesting approval of that for this evening.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the donation from Eli Lilly?
Move to approve.
Mr. Clauser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones. Any comments?
It's great.
Excellent to be, yeah, they're coming into the neighborhood
That's right.
very well. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have, if we could have somebody make a motion to add one agenda item. You have been given additional information in your packet. If we could have a motion to add an item.
I make a motion to add an item to the agenda.
Okay. And that is for,
Request approval of the walk-in cooler purchase at Hardy.
for the chiller at Harney. All right. So we have a motion to add this item to the agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now, it is
I'll let Mr. Dennis
Mr.
describe
Dennis
this.
to
Yep.
discuss.
Thank you, the board, for that. Late in the day Friday, we received this finalized proposal to replace both the walk-in cooler and walk-in refrigerator, freezer, the cooler is the refrigerator, at Harney. Late fall 2023, we discovered that the compressor in the cooler was failing at Harney. As we were getting quotes and inviting repairs, we found a crack in the wall. So these two items sit right next to one another. And we found a crack in the wall between the freezer and the cooler. And the gentleman that was there to provide a quote or a potential repair was confused on how the cooler was holding appropriate temperatures. And I do want to say that there have been appropriate temperatures in these coolers and freezers all the time. Certainly this time of year is very helpful for that right now. But the reason our cooler was staying cool is because the freezer was working overtime to keep things frozen as well as keep the cooler cool. So it became apparent at that time that the fix was not to replace the compressor on the cooler. The fix, unfortunately, when you have that type of structural damage in these items, and these do sit 12 inches down in the floor, I mean, they're set, the fix is to replace both, unfortunately. We do have leftover proceeds, and quite frankly, this is why we have these, but from the 2021 GO bond to cover this expense. So per our purchasing policy, we invited quotes from at least 3 separate vendors, which we did receive. What we have here and what the recommendation I'm making to the board this evening actually is not to accept the lowest quote, and the reason for that is lead time. As many things in this world right now, getting materials has proven to be quite the issue. I am told that the coal pack system that we're getting, it's the name of the manufacturer of the freezer cooler combo, is the preferred brand, and it also is able to be here in 3 to 4 weeks rather than 3 to 4 months. So with the scope of the project, the low quote I will say was $99,000. This is $114,000. So when you consider the size of the project, a difference there of $14,000, certainly with the seasons changing in the next 3 to 4 months, that will make refrigeration more difficult. Yeah. It's my recommendation to the board that it is necessary and emergent to accept this higher quote for the coal pack product due to a little bit more preferred brand as well as being here on time. So with that, I respectfully request the board's approval of Lancaster Skirt is the name of the company that will be providing and installing that in the total amount of $114,333.25. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve this proposal from Lancaster Shirt Equipment?
I'll move to approve.
Mr. Clausen, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Hutchison, any discussion?
So just to reiterate again, there have never been.
Never been.
Inappropriate temperatures in either of those.
Those are closely monitored. In fact, the health department requests that every X amount of minutes we have the ability to prove the temperature of that. It is a commercial kitchen, and we're serving students every day. So no, there has never been an issue. Trying to avoid an issue there, and always have the option to bring in portable refrigeration, and I believe we've done that at times in certain buildings. So absolutely, student safety is at the forefront there, and we have been well within food safety regulations there.
I know you said within approximately 3 weeks. Have they given you a specific date range? Sorry if I missed that.
Prior to March, they'll
Okay.
be there to install. It's about a week and a half install on site, a lot of mechanical work, floor work, things like that. Very happy with Lancaster Skirt. Came out multiple times during the period that we were accepting quotes to make measurements, understand the current floor we have, so they feel very good about this quote being.
And then do we have to have a portable setup then for that install time frame?
So,
Week and a half?
Mr. Martin, I think you can speak to that more from Mr. Anstead.
He did mention that they would bring in one freezer outside. It'll be plugged in just with cord run through. It's not high enough draw that we'll have to run any major feed. It'll just use the system that they have now, whatever feed we have, but we'll have a refrigerator on the sidewalk outside or on the grass or outside the sidewalk.
And do they remove the old
Piece
equipment?
by piece.
Okay.
They're modular, I guess. This will be the first time I've ever seen something like this happen, so it'll be neat to see.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That is the last item. Next board meeting is